Well, hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be discussing as well as showcasing the top 5 best SMG class subs to use here in Vanguard multiplayer. So of course guys, welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel, and for this one I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, as typically for my class setup videos is I check out a class setup, then I showcase some gameplay of it. However, for this one I'm not going to be showcasing any gameplay, and instead I am going to be showcasing 5 class setups in this one, and more specifically all of these class setups are going to be in the SMG category for what in my opinion and from the research that I've done are some of the most popular submachine guns to use here in Vanguard. So with that being said, before I get too far into this video, I do want to give a little disclaimer, and that's one thing that you have to keep in mind about class setups is they are very subjective, and a lot of them are reliant on your playstyle, and there are certain things that maybe I as a player like that you might not. So when you take these class subs, feel free to personalize them a little bit, maybe swap out 1 or 2 attachments or a perk depending on your own playstyle and what you personally like. So pretty much use these class subs as blueprints, and if you like the exact class subs that I showcase in this video, more power to you, and I hope you perform well. However, if you want to make little changes here and there, feel free to go ahead and do so. And with that being said guys, if you want to enjoy today's video at any given point in time, make sure you leave a like on it down below, as well as subscribe and turn on post notifications, so that way you guys will not miss any of the latest and greatest Call of Duty news, class subs, intel, and so much more. So without further ado, now that I got the intro out of the way, let's dive right into it. And alright guys, so as you can see, we're over here in the loadout section. Let's actually go on down and talk about the submachine guns and the class subs I am going to be checking out in this video. Now before we actually go into the class setups, I do want to mention that the guns I am going to be showcasing in this one are the Welgun submachine gun, the MP40, the PPSH 41, the Owen Gun, and finally the M1928 or the Thompson submachine gun. So let's actually start off with the Welgun because it is the newest submachine gun that's honestly really powerful here in Vanguard. So let's actually talk a little bit about it. So of course for my primary weapon I am going to be using the standard variation of the Welgun, but if you guys would like to use a blueprint, feel free to go ahead and do so. For my secondary I will be using the M1911 pistol, and for my perk setup I will be using Ghost, Radar, as well as Scavenger. My lethal is of course the MK2 frag grenade, and my tactical is the stim shot. Now, before we actually get into the attachments, I do quickly want to go over the attachments I am going to be running on my 1911, because for all my class setups, I am going to be using the 1911. So that way I don't sound like a broken record and this video isn't redundant. I'm just going to be showing you the attachments I'm using on my 1911, and this is the exact class setup that I use going forward with all my class setups. So these are of course the attachments. And now let's actually talk about the attachments I am going to be using on my Welgun. So for my first attachment, I will be using the M1929 silencer. That will be increasing the sound suppression as well as accuracy. One thing they have to keep in mind about the Welgun is that it's an extremely accurate submachine gun, and if you have an attachment like this that increases the accuracy even more so, you can pretty much turn this thing into a laser beam. And in addition to that, the M1929 is a silencer, so we get the benefits from that. With that being said, talking about my barrel, I will be using the 320mm SA shrouded barrel, which of course they state is highly accurate and controllable, improves flinch resistance, reduces scope sway and gun bob, as well as it features a larger one-hit kill area. Now this is actually the heaviest barrel out of all the barrels on the Welgun, and it's going to be significantly slowing down the weapon. However, if you put on this particular attachment, it's going to be turning this thing into an absolute laser beam. Like, I'm not even joking, the thing doesn't move at all. So if you want to be accurate and you want to perform well at medium range engagements when using this submachine gun, use this barrel. As well, since it increases the one-hit kill area, it makes this weapon even more viable at close range engagements. So with that being said, for my optic I will be using the slate reflector, which is overall a really good sight to use because it's honestly really clean. And with that being said, for my stock I will be using the SA43 folding stock, which will be increasing the hipfire accuracy, aim walking movement speed, and outside speed, as well as initial accuracy and recoil. For my underbarrel I will be using the SMLE pistol grip, which will be increasing the sprint to fire speed as well as hip fire accuracy. For my magazine I will be using the 9mm 64 round magazine, and that's because the Welgun has a pretty fast rate of fire. You know, it's not something crazy like the PPSH, but it's getting up there, and if you use a 20 round magazine as an example, you'll notice that you're going to be burning through ammunition and you're going to have to reload quite a bit. However, if you use the 9mm 64 round magazine, you can take out multiple opponents without worrying about reloading, which is extremely useful. Of course, my ammo type I will be using lengthened, which will simply going to be increasing the bullet velocity, as well as for my rear grip, I will be using the fabric grip, which is going to be increasing the aim down sight speed, sprint to fire speed, as well as hip fire recoil recovery. For my proficiency, I will be using frenzy. However, you can always swap this out for something like acrobatic, or heck, even gung ho if you want to go crazy. And of course, my kit, I will be using fully loaded. So yeah, that's of course my first class setup for the Welgun submachine gun. Now let's actually move on over to my second class setup, which is on the classic MP40 submachine gun. Now of course, similar to my last class setup, my secondary weapon perks, lethal and tactical, are all the same. So let's actually talk about the attachments I am going to be using on my MP40. Now for my first one, once again, I am going to be using the 1929 silencer, which is going to be increasing the sound suppression as well as accuracy. For my barrel, I will be using the Crossneck 317mm 04B barrel, which they state is highly accurate and controllable, as well as it reduces scope sway and gun bob. And of course, for my next attachment, I will be using the VDD 34M stock, which is going to be increasing the horizontal recoil control by 3, as well as the aim down sight speed by 1. Now this is honestly a really important attachment when you're using the MP40, because one thing you have to keep in mind about the MP40 is that the recoil on the gun is a bit sporadic and you tend to have a lot of that horizontal recoil. However, with this particular stock, you are going to be stabilizing the weapon a lot, and when you use it in game, you'll notice that this thing is a complete laser beam, and that's of course an attribute that I like a lot on my submachine guns, but that's just my own personal preference, and that's how I am going to be using this stock. And with that being said, of course, for my underbarrel, I will be using the SMLE pistol grip, which is going to be increasing the sprint to fire speed as well as the hip fire accuracy. Now, going back to what I originally said, in a lot of cases, I like to increase the firepower as well as reduce the recoil of the weapon. However, it has to be balanced, because if you do that too much, you're going to be turning a good quick submachine gun into pretty much a slow moving light machine gun. So you have to balance it with attachments that make the weapon a little bit faster, and that's one thing that the SMLE pistol grip does. With that being said, for my magazine, I will be using the 9mm 64 round drum magazine, and of course my ammo type I will be using lengthened. For my rear grip, I will be using the stippled grip, which is going to be increasing the recoil recovery as well as initial accuracy and recoil. However, if you guys would like to, you can always swap this out for something like the fabric grip, which is going to be increasing the aim down sight speed. For my proficiency, I will be using momentum, as well as for my kit, I will be using fully loaded. So with that being said, let's move on down to my third class setup that I am going to be showcasing in this video, and this one is going to be for the PPSH 41 submachine gun, which, let me just say, the PPSH is honestly a really underrated submachine gun, and I'm considering making a class setup solely checking out the PPSH, because this thing's really good and it's really underrated. And with that being said, let's actually break down these attachments. For my first one, I will be using the oil can suppressor, which is equivalent to the M1929 silencer. Barrel is naturally going to be the ZAC 300mm, which is going to be increasing the bullet velocity and range, accuracy, recoil control, as well as accuracy once again. For my stock, I will be using the Empress Custom, which is going to be increasing the recoil control, accuracy, flinch resistance, as well as recoil recovery. For my underbarrel, I will be using the SMLE pistol grip, as well as for my magazine, I will be using the 8mm Nambu 71 round magazine, and of course my ammo type, I will be using lengthened. Naturally, my rear grip is going to be the stippled grip, as well as my proficiency is going to be the sable, as well as my kit is fully loaded. So with that being said, let's actually move on over to the fourth class setup, and this one is going to be on the Owen gun. Now the Owen gun is honestly a really fun submachine gun to use here in Vanguard, and I know a lot of people like it, and this is one class setup that I personally really like a lot. So with that being said, of course I am going to be using the 1929 silencer. My barrel is going to be the Hawkinson 305mm precision, which is highly accurate and controllable, increases headshot damage, as well as actually increases the aim down sight speed. For my optic, I will be using the slate reflector. My stock is of course going to be the H4 folding stock, which increases the aiming stability, recoil control, accuracy, as well as flinch resistance. So all good things there. And of course my underbarrel is going to be the pistol grip. My magazine is going to be the 9mm 72 round magazine. My ammo type is going to be lengthened. My rear grip is going to be the fabric grip. As well as my proficiency is sleight of hand, because when you're using the 72 round magazine, the reload speed is pretty slow. So if you put on sleight of hand, it is going to be increasing that reload quickness. And of course my kit is fully loaded. So now that we got that out of the way, let's actually go on down and talk about my final class setup. And this is actually going to be for the M1928 Thompson, which is personally one of my favorite submachine guns here to use in Vanguard. And yeah, let's actually talk a little bit about it. So naturally, for my muzzle, I will be using the 1929 silencer. as well as my barrel is of course going to be the CGC 12-inch cooling barrel, which they state is highly accurate and controllable, as well as it reduces scope sway and gun bob. Now there were times that I used the CGC 14.5-inch shrouded barrel, however, it reduces the recoil control and it makes this gun a little bit more sporadic, which is something that I personally don't like, so that's how come I prefer using the 12-inch cooling. For my optic, I'm naturally going to be using the slate reflector, and for my stock, I will be using the Ragdoll T2 support stock, which is going to be increasing the recoil control accuracy, recoil recovery, as well as flinch resistance. Underbarrel is naturally going to be the M1930 Strife angled, which is going to be increasing the accuracy, aiming stability, as well as aim walking steadiness. For my magazine, I am going to be using the 8mm Kurtz 100 round drum magazine, which is going to be increasing the bullet velocity as well as range, the damage, the bullet penetration, as well as the magazine ammo capacity. My ammo type is naturally going to be lengthened. My rear grip is of course going to be the fabric grip, as well as my proficiency is sleight of hand, and my kit is fully loaded. Now that's one thing that I want to talk about the M1928, because honestly there's a lot of things that you can do with the 1928. You can put on different attachments and pretty much turn this thing into a point blank range shotgun type submachine gun where it excels at close range, but it's not too good at medium to longer range engagements. And then there are other attachments that you can put on that pretty much turns this thing into a full-on assault rifle. However, it's not as efficient and as good at close range, and I feel like this particular class up is a happy medium. Of course, certain attachments are going to be making it more effective at medium range engagements. For example, my magazine as well as the barrel as well as my stock, but I also have the fabric grip as well as sleight of hand and the M1930 Strife angled grip, so that way you can still use this weapon like a submachine gun and perform well at close range engagements. So yeah guys, with that being said, that's going to effectively wrap up my top 5 SMG class subs to use here in Vanguard. Now, if you guys enjoyed today's video, I might turn it into a bit of a series where maybe every season or after every major update, I go and I discuss my top 5 class subs to use, maybe in general, or maybe about some machine guns or assault rifles or something of the sort. So if you guys would like to see that, make sure you comment down below. And if you enjoyed it at any given point in time, make sure you leave a like on it down below, as well as subscribe and turn on post notifications, so that way you guys will not miss any of the latest and greatest Call of Duty news, class subs, intel, and so much more. So thank you once again for watching. I'm your host, Deeper Jungle. I hope to see you in the next one.